So the loss has to be realized somewhere. I think my message to the public is this: they're realizing the loss for those that are holding and storing and saving in dollars. I honestly believe over the next 12 to 36 months or so, we're going to see drastic changes in monetary policy. Listen, we need Trump to get in office and we need to understand what his plan is, but he's even hinted at having some oversight and control over the Federal Reserve. So I think there's extreme change coming, and I think on net it's for the good, but in the short to near term it's going to be extremely volatile and it's going to be extremely weakening for the dollar. So my expectation is own hard assets. I think Bitcoin's going to 250,000 to $1 million within the next 12 to 18 months or so.
Wow.
If the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve is signed and put in place, I think this would be the biggest US economic announcement since Nixon in '71.
Jack Mallers emphasizes that both governments and central banks are aligned in their pursuit of a weaker dollar. This objective is fueled by the necessity to manage unsustainable levels of debt and to stimulate economic growth through exports. A weaker dollar inflates asset prices, debases debt, and allows policymakers to sustain the illusion of economic health. However, this strategy comes at a cost to savers and those holding cash. Mallers predicts ongoing asset inflation, not as a byproduct of policy, but as its core objective. He dismisses the notion that fiat currencies will be entirely replaced, instead envisioning a coexistence where assets like Bitcoin and gold rise significantly in value relative to fiat currencies. His forecast of Bitcoin reaching $250,000 to $1 million within the next 12 to 36 months highlights the monumental shift underway. Mallers argues that the dollar's decline will continue to fuel asset reallocation toward hard assets, including Bitcoin.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Yeah, well, listen, I think we have to remind ourselves, where are the public, like you and I, the government, central banks, where are we generally all on the same team? And that's a weaker dollar, right? The government wants a weaker dollar. Trump has hinted at a weaker dollar. And that's why I think we'll continue to see asset inflation and currency debasement. That's the way out, is if I can debase what I owe. And so that's where I think this goes long term. Does that mean that we enter an entire new monetary system where fiat currencies don't exist? No, I don't believe that. I do not believe that. But do I think we can live in a world where Bitcoin is over $1 million, where gold is up, where the S&P is up? And another way to say that is the dollar is down. I absolutely think not only is that possible, but that's where we are headed. So the loss has to be realized somewhere. I think my message to the public is this: they're realizing the loss for those that are holding and storing and saving in dollars. And hear me out. Traditionally, the way to get out of dollars and persist your wealth elsewhere is invest in Miami beachfront real estate. Invest in the best equities or the best venture capital deals in San Francisco. Not everyone had access to that. Bitcoin is so unique in that you can buy a penny of it. Everyone has access to it. All you got to do is download an app on your phone. And so why I think this is a unique situation where, listen, this isn't the first time ever that we're living through a potential fall of an empire, an inflationary period where currency is actively debased and those holding it are the losers. What makes this time unique is that we, the people, have engineered an alternate monetary system that's scarce and accessible to all of us that no one can stop. And so my public comms and a lot of my time and energy is getting the message out there that that's what makes this time different. Not that they're going to do anything different, is that you can do something different. And that something different is protecting yourself by owning something like Bitcoin. I honestly believe over the next 12 to 36 months or so, we're going to see drastic changes in monetary policy. Listen, we need Trump to get in office and we need to understand what his plan is, but he's even hinted at having some oversight and control over the Federal Reserve. Is it beyond us that the way Trump sees himself taming inflation, controlling financial markets while allowing the S&P and assets to rise in the greater interest of the people. Maybe he wants Bessent to be the Fed chairman and lead the Treasury. Is that beyond us? Is Trump going to exercise his right to have further oversight over the Fed? Would that imply and mean that Trump is going to use some form of yield curve control to exercise absolute control at both ends of the market and make sure that assets pump and inflation is relatively tamed at the expense of those that hold the dollar? Is that what he means by weaker dollar and strengthening our exports? These are all very open questions, but I think it's very clear that this new administration means business. They mean change. I think a lot of the things, if we can't possibly question the Fed's independence, well, it turns out this administration can. We can't possibly question cutting government divisions and reducing expenses. Well, this administration can. So I think there's extreme change coming. And I think on net, it's for the good. But in the short to near term, it's going to be extremely volatile and it's going to be extremely weakening for the dollar. So my expectation is own hard assets. I think Bitcoin's going to 250,000 to 1 million within the next 12 to 18 months or so.
Wow. Okay.
And that's what the last thing I'll say is I do think markets are trying to figure this out. And so it is a strange time. You've got holidays and you've got a president-elect that's out there tweeting and assigning people positions and responsibilities and roles, but we don't actually know what he's going to do. But I do predict over the next few years, a significant amount of change, a significantly weaker dollar, and a significantly stronger Bitcoin. I do think that this is the era where sovereigns will be adding Bitcoin as an asset that they hold and accumulate in value. On the Putin comments, to me, this is the biggest story. And let me add commentary there to be extremely clear what I mean by that. This exemplifies exactly what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin does not care about politics. It does not care about government. It doesn't care about geography. It doesn't care about anything. It is a neutral monetary asset. And if money is our time and energy in an abstracted form, it's the market good that we use to store and then later exchange for the goods and services we need as humans. And we want to live in an economy, in a society of billions of people on the internet. We need a neutral money. And so it's the mere fact that you could have opposing governments, opposing people, opposing companies that disagree with each other on all other things, but find value in this one monetary instrument is one of the core value propositions of Bitcoin. And so I think for being in Bitcoin for 12 years, it's almost unbelievable to see the head of nation states acknowledge the fact that this is something that no one can sanction you off of, that no one can pry from you, that is valuable, scarce. He referenced that it's technology, by the way, that will continually improve. That's one big difference between Bitcoin and gold is Bitcoin will get better forever because it's technology. Bitcoin will continue to get better long after I'm gone because it's software. Gold can't. We didn't make gold. We found gold. We made Bitcoin. And so the fact that this is being acknowledged globally, I think begins the transition of the world migrating towards a neutral digital store of wealth and new reserve currency for the world. And so to me, that's the profound takeaway from his comments, and just how profound it is. I don't think the market has truly absorbed that.
Mallers also touches on the geopolitical implications of Bitcoin. Its neutral, apolitical nature makes it an attractive asset for opposing nations and rival corporations alike. This universality underscores Bitcoin's core value proposition as a neutral monetary system that transcends borders, ideologies, and politics. The recognition of Bitcoin by global leaders, including controversial figures like Putin, signals its inevitability as a foundational asset in the digital age. Mallers believes this acknowledgement will accelerate Bitcoin adoption, both at the institutional level and among sovereign entities.
I think the United States could be buying Bitcoin as soon as Q1 of next year. There are many facets and avenues in which they can exercise that opportunity. And it comes down to the leadership of President Trump and this new administration. So we'll see what they want and where their interests lie. But I do expect them to be pro-Bitcoin because Bitcoin is beneficial to them. The one thing about Bitcoin that I think people don't generally appreciate is the game theory. Historically, you're much better on Bitcoin's team than trying to fight against it. And that's very important, is that the United States is much better off benefiting from this technology in various ways than trying to stand in its way. So I do expect this new administration to continue to be pro-Bitcoin and buy some because it's in their best interest to do so.
So is that what's going to take Bitcoin to $1 million if that starts happening, if these analysts and you're correct and it starts happening early next year?
Yeah, it very well could. Absolutely. I mean, my predictions, again, are grounded in the fundamentals. You can't print any more of this thing. So the more demand and the more people that want it, the price has to go up. And I think the price is justified to go up because it's better at storing wealth and protecting your future than all other financial assets or just general assets you can own, like real estate or a basket of equities. So yeah, absolutely. You can consider my prediction as simple as this. I think there will be more demand next year for Bitcoin than there is right now. And I think that demand will take it way higher. $1 million's not impossible. I think the ETF was massive. I think the approval of the ETF was a big deal. So I think further clarity on how banks can get involved, SAB 121, I think this industry is really looking forward to that. And I think there's a lot of non-existent participants that want to actually serve customers and participate in the space today. And I think these are large financial institutions and banks, very similar to the ETFs and how we were getting rejection after rejection after rejection. And we saw an onslaught of demand and new business once we saw approvals. So I think that's a very, 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 very big one. I think the story of corporations like MicroStrategy using Bitcoin as a reserve asset is a massive development. And then I think the reminder, the way I think about Bitcoin is Bitcoin equals technology plus fiat liquidity. We talk a lot about the fiat liquidity piece, right? I think Bitcoin is the best expression of currency debasement. So as we print money, Bitcoin is going to go up. It's going to go up the most more than anything else. But the technology piece, technology plus currency debasement. So the technology piece is fascinating. When we have things like the Lightning Network, we have companies like mine that are continuing to make this thing more accessible and more valuable to people all over the world. So I think that's the piece where, listen, we can't make gold any better. It is what it is. It's a collection of atoms, chemicals that Mother Nature made. We can make Bitcoin better. And how do you price that technology and that future growth and value and disruption to existing industries? So I would say the combination of those three is what continues to make me really excited and why I think 2025 is going to be a big deal. If the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve is signed and put in place, I think this would be the biggest U.S. economic announcement since Nixon in '71. What do I mean by that? Well, the U.S. made an economic announcement in 1933. What was it? We're taking all your stuff. The U.S. made an economic announcement in '71. What was it? We're divorcing ourselves from the gold standard so we can print money and inflate your life away. The U.S. made an economic announcement in '08. What was it? We're bailing out poor behavior and we're taking the side of the banks. If the U.S. makes an economic announcement in 2025, what is it? We're pro-growth. We're pro-technology. We're pro-innovation. We realize we have a deficit problem and a debt problem. We want to back our future promises with the future, with the fastest growing asset. We want to give confidence to the people that we acknowledge the problem and we're building towards it. This is, again, in line with, this acts in the best interest of the public. It's not we're taking your stuff. It's not we're debasing your stuff. It's not we're taking the side of the banks. The large supply of this asset is owned by the general public. This is a move that acts in the best interest of the people. This is a move that acts in best interest of business. This is pro-business. This is pro-labor. This is pro-energy. So this is pro-industry. So I think this is on par with something like '71 and Nixon, but it's positive. It's not negative.
Interesting.
Mallers concludes by discussing the interplay of technology, policy, and market forces. He highlights several catalysts for Bitcoin's growth, including ETF approvals, institutional participation, and advancements in infrastructure like the Lightning Network. These developments, coupled with the broader trend of fiat liquidity driving up asset prices, position Bitcoin as a superior store of wealth. He predicts that as financial institutions, governments, and corporations embrace Bitcoin, its value will surge, fundamentally altering the financial landscape. This shift, Mallers argues, represents not only an economic evolution but also a societal transformation toward a more equitable monetary system.
Please like and subscribe my channel.